we're gonna end on JD for the A block. So thanks, JD. Let's bring in Chicago
No,
native.
we get into the full screen first though before we welcome in JD
So yeah. I'm saying
in
we're
the
gonna end
A.
our A block as JD's answer on that first topic, and then we're gonna edit in as if we were bringing in Mike Wilbon live as like our fourth panelist in our A block topic.
Okay.
So if the final product will be you asking the first question to the whole panel, and say, for example, we would go Bruce, Elise, then JD. And after JD's response to that first question, we would go from JD's one shot to your one shot. And then you would say, all right, thanks,
Okay,
JD.
I get it. Okay, so I got it. So essentially, when we come out of that full screen, we're going to be like, the bigger issue for owners and players is finances and health. So let's welcome native Chicago Michael Wilbon into the show. Blah 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 blah. And I'll ask the question to him, and then it's going to essentially you're just going to cut that, and then tag that in with the first question to the whole panel. Correct?
Yes, correct. Yep.
Okay, you got it.
And then so that first A block part of it will just be you and Wilbon for either one, probably two questions, unless he goes really long in his answer. And then you're going to toss to a break, teasing more chatting with Michael Wilbon, including diving into the 2020 Cubs. Then we'll just hit a quick pause. Then you'll pick up the interview again as if we were starting the B block, which would be off of the Ernie Banks 500th home run. Back on Cubs 360. Bruce, you know him. He's been here all the time. We have a new guest with us, Michael Wilbon. Mike, what do you remember about that day that Ernie Banks hit his 500th?
Yep. Who asked
and then we're going to have
me or
that's going to be Cole. That'll be Cole. And then Cole will have a follow-up about that column.
About what
he said
column?
That if you that was
he wrote an article in '84 for the Washington Post where he said that about growing up on the South Side. He said no matter how far south you lived.
No, I read that.
Yeah.
So that'll be a follow-up for there, and then Bruce, you'll get two questions back to back, and then we'll just alternate.
What do you want them? What do you want them to be?
So you can. Because I sent out that list. We're not going to hit on every one of those. You can ask. What
I understand, but I don't want to take what Cole is preparing to ask away from Cole.
No, I've got all those questions that they sent us, Bruce. That's how the guidelines I kind of wanted to stick to. If any ones that you want to ask, go ahead. I've got my notes, so I'll just subtract as we go. If there's anything that you want to ask in particular, and plus, I feel like Miller can this be cut down?
Yeah. Oh, it'll absolutely be cut down.
Say if it's going long, we just don't want to be like, just get into questions and okay, get them in and out. This could be stuff that we use down the road. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. It'll end up being something like 7 or 8 minutes.
If this interview goes a half an hour, it goes. I feel like it should go a half an hour. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we'll definitely take our time with it.
No doubt. Cool.
We're not on the strict question time limit. Go ahead, Bruce.
Can I step away from the questions that were set up, or
100%. If you have one that you want to ask, by all means. You know him better than I do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well,
cool.
We sent are just suggestions. We really want to hit on that column one that Cole is going to ask. But outside of that, whatever you guys are thinking. And if I feel like there's something, if we're a good chunk of the way into the interview that I think there's something we're missing, I'll just throw it in the chat, and you guys can chime in there.
So it doesn't have to stay with baseball.
No, it can be about Chicago. We have a Northwestern question in there. Yeah, this is.
I almost even want to ask him too.
Never.
PTI has been on the air since 2001.
You're saying it's too long?
No, I mean, what's it like to be able to go out there and do a show like that every single day? You know, for going on 20 years now. I mean, that's pretty special.
Yeah,
Cool.
PTI was my entire childhood.
Yeah. Cool. I'm going to steal that.
How dare you, Bruce? I got more questions where that came from.
Just kidding.
Well, Len got me the other day on Tom Ricketts because when Tom jumped on, we weren't rolling yet, and Tom came out with his beard. I'm like, hey Tom, like I like the beard, man, looks good. I'm like, Len keeps shaving his off and letting it grow back, and then when we went on the air, like Len's first question was like, I want to commend you on the beard, Tom. Like I wasn't going to say anything about Tom's beard, so it probably was it was nice that Len said something about it because I know those guys, they know each other a little bit better.
Dusold, you got me on vMix here?
Yep, I got you on vMix.
Great. So I just want to run through the traffic with you to make sure everyone's on the same page. So, we'll welcome him. We'll get set up and everything, frame out the shot. And then when we start to tape, it's going to be Cole on a 1-shot into a 2-shot with him and Wilbon. Cole will ask probably 2 questions. And then Cole is going to toss to a quote unquote break. Then we'll just do, a quick little reset. Cole will reset coming out of break into a 3-shot, and then we'll just do the normal interview from there.
You got it.
All right, so I'm going ISO, 3-box, 2-box with Wilbon, 2 questions, and then layout.
Yep.
You don't really have me in the A block though.
Yeah, no, it's just Michael and I in the A block, I guess.
So I won't even show Bruce in the A's, I guess,
yeah,
right?
It'll just be because Bruce, you already have chimed in on this when we tape the A block for real.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this first taping, I will not show Bruce.
Correct. Yeah, the first 2 minutes or so will just be Cole and Wilbon, and then we'll throw to the break, and we'll come back, and it'll be our normal interview.
When we go to break, so we'll go ISO here, 2-box, 2 questions. Then you want an ISO a Cole to end it.
You can just stay on the 2-box.
Cool.
We have B-roll that we'll go to.
Perfect.
Cole, how'd it go on the links yesterday?
It was all right, man. I shot an 88, but I shot a 42 on the front, and I started off par. Because it's funny because when we were talking with Rick yesterday, when he was talking about guys pitching when you're throwing too well, you're bound to get bumped up at some point. And that's yesterday. I was and I got myself out of trouble to save par on like 2 out of 3, and then on 4, I absolutely pounded my drive right down the gut, and then second shot off, and then bogey. And like I said, I shot a 42 on the front. I easily could have shot a 40, and then on the back, I had 4 double bogeys, man. And I shot a 46. What can you do?
Golf is just.
I was just happy.
It's a grind.
I was just happy to be playing golf, man.
Yeah, for sure. I'm hoping weather holds up this weekend. Maybe sneak some in.
Yeah, I'm always solid though, man. As long as I can shoot below 90, you know what I'm saying. Being that I don't get out as much as I used to, you know what I'm saying. There's always a chance I could sneak down and shoot below an 85, but if I can keep it between 85 and 89, I'm cool, man.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm happy living too.
You know, because I mean, I used to be almost probably about a 10. Where, I mean, every day I'd go out, I'd shoot like an 81 or something like that. But that was short lived. Where are you going to play at, Miller, if you try to get out?
My cousin went to play someplace like 7 or 8 miles out. I don't know. It was like a 20-minute drive. You know, it's kind of like wherever you can find a spot, because they only do twosomes here, and they space them out well, so you never run into each other.
No, it's good, and your times are tidy. I got 18 holes in yesterday in like 3.5. So
see, that's what I'm talking about. I hate playing golf when it's too long.
Yeah, no, it stinks.
Bruce, what you were saying yesterday about the governor extending the stay-at-home order, is that something that you were hearing about, or something that you know?
No, I read it. I read it. He's considering
you read it. Okay.
June 15th and possibly July, depending on the science. I mean, we're still peaking here as far as deaths.
Yeah, yesterday I saw was the most.
We're not there. I mean, people can push back as much as they want. They don't want to pay attention to the fact that there's no vaccine and no drugs. That's up to them. I think this guy is a hero so far, pushing back.
Who, Pritzker?
Yeah, the California governor seems to.
Yeah, I mean,
seems to be adamant about taking it as slow as he can.
There's no plateau here. I mean, you can't. People are. All I hear is, "Oh, we're all fed up staying in for 2 months." Who cares?
Yeah.
You want to live?
Forget who put the article out. There's a good article about how like quarantine fatigue is.
Yeah, it's like massive. It's not a game.
So Andrew, it seems like Andrew, about 5 minutes for Wilbon. What's up, Cole and Bruce?
What's up,
Malik? How are we doing?
Good.
What do you mean? What do you mean 5 minutes? It's 12:30.
Just wait, Bruce. You've been waiting your whole life. Just wait.
I don't wait for reporters.
That's the real reason why I had to step in Monday through Wednesday, because things were getting too fiery between Bruce and Malik.
It's all tough love.
It's all this last dance is getting to Malik, man. He saw MJ hit that shot over Craig Elo. It brought back so many bad memories.
You just won't let it go, will you, Cole? Won't let it go. I see you.
Oh.
You know what?
Cole's turning last dance to his own personal parade.
Nobody has talked once about Jordan sitting there with a 3/4 glass full of scotch, and his eyes are dark red, and that he's doing these interviews half tanked. Now, how come no one's saying one word about that?
Yeah, I did say, I'm like, when all this last dance is over with, I'm like, if Michael Jordan doesn't come out of this with at least 2 more endorsements, then shame on these companies, Clear Eyes and Visine.
I mean, what is that? It's like, okay, it's cool to see Michael with his quote unquote hair, down, but it's not cool to see him with a big drink next to him and his eyes dark red. Like, that's not cool.
He said his eyes dark red.
I mean, he's clearly, had a few.
I think it's probably his eyes probably been, red and yellowed from all that cigar smoke. Like that cat smokes a lot of cigars, man. Like, ugh.
There's only one guy who could pull this off. That's Michael Jordan.
What? All this, or the whole
whole
thing, like
thing.
just drinking scotch. Yeah.
Yeah, if Barkley did this, he would get skewered. You know, if Kareem Abdul-Jabbar did this, it would be, like he's drinking. He's got a drink next to him. He's saying the F-bomb. He threw the F-bomb out there. ESPN's allowing the F-bomb. They never have in any of their. I worked for Disney for 15 years. If we even suggested anything on the radio, we would be warned and suspended.
Absolutely.
It's cool that it's happening. I'm just saying, it's the world of Michael Jordan, the ultimate exception.
Yeah, it's all about that 10 p.m. time slot too, I feel like.
But ESPN doesn't have anything like that. They've never broadcast anything like that.
No.
I think they realize how much money they can make on it, and I think that money sometimes supersedes morals.
100%.
Absolutely.
What do I know? I'm just a caveman.
Buy some more of their stock.
All your devices with bells and whistles frighten me. You remember that one, Bruce? From SNL, Phil Hartman, frozen caveman attorney. Miller doesn't know about that. He's too young, man.
I watched SNL, but I don't know about that one.
You don't know about Phil Hartman? Remember, Troy McClure on The Simpsons?
Yeah.
Well, he was on Saturday Night Live, but he played a bunch of great characters. But Unfrozen Caveman Lawyer was one of the best. He spoke all like eloquently, and he was like, but he was a caveman with like long black hair and like this, occipital brow.
Yeah, I'm looking at the makeup right now. The makeup on it, it's crazy.
And then when he get done like making like this fantastic point, he'd be like, but what do I know? Caveman.
All right,
Malik. So
Malik.
many great characters.
Time's up.
Was that 5 minutes?
Yep. On the clock.
All right, I'll let him know. Let him know Bruce Levine's not having it.
Or Bruce Levine, either one of them.
Levine, yeah.
He's coming from Phoenix, by the way.
Oh, nice. I'm sure he's been getting some golf in.
Oh, yeah.
Bruce, you could just call Malik, him Malek, like George Will did. I heard Malik chuckle that day, too.
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It was so funny. Hey, Malek.
I'll tell you what, he looks pretty good for 79 years old, though, man.
Well, he definitely loved his Cubs. There's no doubt about that.
No, for sure.
He's definitely well versed. So yeah, he's good. Nice having him.
Yeah, making up names of new players, but that's okay.
What player? What player?
Lopez. He called Baez.
Javi Baez.
Oh yeah, I'm not even going to comment on that.
Too late.
You know what? Now that I think about it, I didn't even think that I didn't even make the bridge. Javi Lopez, old school Braves catcher, like.
It's George Will.
I guess I haven't. When was the last time you thought about Javi Lopez? He's pretty good.
I listened to the Braves had a call with their whole 1995 team on YouTube a couple of weeks ago, and they were all on it. I mean, you had 20 players from that team for 2 hours talking about the dynamic of that championship year.
You're telling me was
Wohlers on that squad?
No. Was Otis Nixon on the call? That's all that matters.
Oh, I don't know if was he on that team?
Oh my gosh, that guy.
And then when the call was over with, he said, "Catch you on the flip side, suckers," because he looks like Skeletor.
They were bashing each other pretty good. They were having some fun with it.
No, he wasn't on the '95 team. I just remember Otis Nixon though. He was funny.
Oh man, funny, fast, steroids,
Well,
fast.
yeah. Some other things were going on in his life too, but
Hit him with that Andre the Giant. Like you see that Andre the Giant gif where he looks, he's like,
Kevin Riley,
Hey,
are you
eyes just
there?
get big.
Hey, Cole,
Yo,
what's your favorite part of this interview so far?
Kevin Riley?
he's got me on the edge of my seat. I just can't wait I can't wait to be at this point in my career one day, Bruce. And we can just not be on
Yeah,
time.
well, look, I'm sitting here 40 years down the line, still waiting.
So Mike is trying to sign in, I guess, but struggling. We're gonna get him a new link.
All good. Bruce, what's going to happen to teams like the Cook County Cheetahs and like the Schaumburg Flyers, those independent leagues? Are they still going to play, you think?
It's up to the city and state they play in.
Well, I mean, not so much are they going to play, once things come back, if minor league baseball goes away, will the independent leagues, from everything that you're hearing around the city, are they going to stay around?
And they might be stronger.
Mm.
I mean, there might be more
Yeah.
players for them if because of the draft. You might be
Absolutely.
looking at guys using that as a development league. But no fans in the stands, very tough to operate. You're talking about next year,
Yeah, I feel
maybe,
you.
or
People say that though, man. But if you're a gamer and you go out and play, like I don't care if there's fans out there cheering me on or not. Like if I'm on the mound, I got a dude in the box. Let's get rolling. Like I don't care if
no,
anyone's there to
the
cheer me on.
the operators got to make money.
Oh yeah, for independent leagues, yeah, that would be the whole point because it's not like those games are televised. That's a good point.
They can't open unless they,
But then
they
maybe that
depend
would be a
on.
good way for them to get their foot in the door. Like, hey, like we're playing. There's no fans. However, maybe we can televise some of these games, whether it's on, a local
Yeah.
or,
Hey, anything is possible now, Cole. You're right. I mean, no
show
one
it on
can
the
say
sports
no.
channel.
Yeah, you can't say no to anything right now. People are, dying for any type of competition out there.
You put it on the what was it, CLTV? With they have Bruce Sakamoto can do the highlights.
Bob.
Bob Sakamoto, that's who it is. I remember when Bob came into the restaurant I worked at in Naperville when I was a kid. I was like 20 years old, 21. I was like, oh man, it's Bob Sakamoto.
He was cool. He was
the
covering the Bulls.
he was always on TV, man.
Yeah, good guy.
A bunch of guys. I mean, I feel like a lot of guys live out in Naperville. A lot of the news guys, like I think like Jerry Taft, because he's got a plane. I don't think he lives in Arrow Estates. The
Where did I
streets
hear
are
about
just a
him?
runway.
I heard he was driving an Uber or something.
Jerry Taft's driving. He's not the weatherman anymore.
I don't think so.
Oh wow. Yeesh. I mean, I'm sure if you have 30 years experience in market number 3, I mean, you could probably find another weatherman job in another market as opposed to driving Uber.
Yeah. I don't know. That's what I heard.
Huh.
We'll have to do more a
We'll do some digging.
bigger Google search.
That's complete fraudulent information. Like now the story is like Jerry Taft owns like, X amount of shares in Uber. Now it's in the game of telephone. He's driving an Uber.
All right. I'm going to have to back up my BS. We got time to do anything. I can go out and get a shoe shine right now.
Yeah, shine the shoes.
Do you get your shoe
look
shine
good on
first from time to time?
No, I only wear athletic shoes.
I tell you what, I like to get my shoe shine in Chicago at the Nordstrom right on Michigan Avenue, right across from Bandera. Only because when I used to work there, I used to always cut through because I used to always park in like the row parking.
Yeah.
And so I'd cut through the mall and I'd get my shoe shine, whether I was working at Double or whatever. And I was always cool with all the shoe shine guys. And still to this day, they all work there. And I went back, I think last time I was there in the city, and one of my guys, Wilbur, had passed away.
Oh.
He'd been there for like 35 years.
Those are your buddies.
Yeah, I'd always go back. When I came back for the draft, I'd go back. I got my shoe shined by those guys. And there's they told me that there's a Chicago sports anchor that will remain unnamed. Oh, you got
time out. Taft left his job in 2018 from Channel 7 and now works as a part-time Uber driver. He earned $84.61 on his very first day in Naples, Florida.
I feel like he retired then, huh? He's probably just doing that to pass the time.
Don't know how many ex-wives he has.
Yikes.
You never know what people have in real money.
Right.
I mean,
like I was saying, like the shoe shine guys. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Well, they told me that there was a Chicago sports anchor that will remain unnamed, but he said that he would come in with free shoe shine tickets, get a shoe shine, and walk out and not even give him a tip. And when I used to wait tables, I was like, that's terrible. How does that happen? Like,
they say from what era?
He's still around.
The guy's still around?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, there's only two that I can think of. They both work at ABC.
I have your phone number, don't I, Bruce?
Yeah. it. They both have been there a long time.
I just emailed you initials.
Oh, email? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, I'm kind of stuck on that one. Sportscaster.
Sometimes
Still
they hang
active?
with butchers and candlestick makers.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's weak.
Terrible.
Yeah. That's
that same guy came in to eat, and I waited on him when I was a server, and he couldn't have been ruder to me.
I mean, people like you eventually become important people who take these stories another level. It's like, always remember to be nice to everybody. It's like, it's not that hard.
And just because, not because of the fact that it can turn around and bite you one day, just be cool because it's cooler to be cool.
Yeah, I mean, you don't, if you're famous, who gives a shit? We can't say that. Sorry.
That's all. That's the truth, though. It's
Hey Bruce, we got to dock you your pay for the day. Can't cuss on me.
Okay. All right. Well, it's minimal
So
anyway. So no harm, no
$5,000?
foul.
You get $5,000 a show, right?
I'll show you the copy of the contract. Ask
All right.
Mike to see it.
We'll work it out. But you're docked for the day, all right?
Well, I'm working so much. It's daily amount is only about $8 or $9 bucks.
Here we go. Working so much.
Hey, Bruce is the hardest working man in Chicago, man.
Hey, I'm happy to be that guy.
Hey, I hear
Cutting
you.
into nap time.
Hey, everybody, just to let you know where we're at. I'm with Mr. on to his phone. We can't see his laptop to sign in.
I heard about 30% of what you just said.
You just said that.
Can't get the
They're
laptop.
on phone, so all good. We'll get it.
Okay. So Malik, I ordered a pair of shoes for like 70% off that I tried to get in my size, but they were too small. So I ordered them a half size bigger, and the half size bigger is like a half size bigger. I was like, man, I get this deal on these, and these don't fit either. Like, do they make 13 and a quarters?
Are they Nikes?
No, they're Adidas, and I've got tons of Adidas, but there's these certain pair they run small, so I'm like, let's get a half size big, and those don't fit either. So it's like those shoes just aren't meant for me, especially when you find good deals on them. There's nothing better than finding a nice bargain.
My people invented that.
On Maxwell Street.
Probably in Jerusalem.
Yeah, probably before Maxwell Street. Yeah.
Man, Bruce, you're really going down a rabbit hole today. You're about to get docked for tomorrow too.
I'm just talking the truth. I'm saying the truth.
But now Maxwell Street is now like a Hispanic market, isn't it? Because I saw an episode on the Food Channel. That's where Rick Bayless goes and gets all his fresh ingredients.
Nice.
Rick and
said
Skip,
I can't comment. I can't comment on it.
You can't comment on it?
just told me no.
Yeah. Rick and Skip though, not buddies.
No. I knew Skip when he wasn't like
a millionaire.
There you go.
There's Mike.
Mike. Here he is.
It's gonna be low tech.
Okay.
It's gonna be pretty low tech stuff here.
Looks like he's soaking up some Arizona sunshine.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's
nice.
All right. You good, Mike?
I mean, I guess if they can stomach what it looks like.
Hey, Michael, this is Kevin, the director here at Marquee. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you fine.
All right. Thank you.
Perfect. Is it possible to plug in any headphones into your phone? We just have trouble hearing you right now.
Wait, stop. I can't hear you. Let me turn my volume down. Hold on. Maybe that'll. Okay, talk to me again.
Your audio is coming in real soft. Is it possible to put in headphones into your phone? They'll come in a lot crisper that way.
I'm not that high tech. I don't use headphones with this. I've never used them. I don't even know where headphones are. I know you guys are dealing with somebody who's old and has an application for everything. I don't have headphones that have ever been used with this.
Totally understand, Michael. Thanks.
I mean, I know that sounds like 1980s because that's what I am.
The only thing you can do is just center you up in your shot. So if you decide to touch to your right, we'll be all set.
Touch to my right. Is that better?
Now I'm just seeing the phone in the top left corner of my screen, above your right shoulder. Is it your laptop?
You know, let me.
Yeah, I'm just seeing that in the shot right now.
All right, let me get rid of that, and let me get rid of the elaborate setup I had with that.
That's perfect. It's gone.
Is that better?
That's better. Now, if you physically just slide to your right a touch, you'll be centered up in your shot.
This is kind of fixed position. Can I slide the phone to the left a little bit or no?
That's fine. So if you can't slide to your right, let's just reposition your camera a little. Just tilt it like counter or clockwise.
I might have to hold this, which I hate to do.
Let's see. Right there is perfect.
That's good.
Okay, let's hope it's.
Yep, you're all good.
Let's hope it sits there.
Hey, Mike, it's Andrew, the producer. How you doing? Thanks for joining us.
Hey there. A little stressed, but I guess I'll live.
I will make this nice and easy.
I got on today. You can't even see this.
Very nice.
Nice.
Nobody will see it.
Guys, I feel like I'm on a delay.
Dusold, could you put me on a 3-shot, please?
Now you guys know why I go to a studio every day, even now.
You're all good.
You're all good. This is what drives me to a studio every day.
No, you're coming through okay now.
I just hope the phone can sit here. I don't know. I've never done this with it before. I don't know if it can.
We are all on delay.
We're just we're trying to adjust the delay a little bit. So, Mike, you're going to start with Cole for the first couple questions, and then Bruce will jump in.
Okay.
We'll get you out of here. Cole, how's the delay for Mike for you?
It sounded. I didn't hear any delay on his end. But I'm hearing a delay. I'm hearing like a 4-second mix minus on me.
Same.
Gotcha. I think we can clean that up.
And Andrew, just to reset, we're doing the A's with just Michael and I first, and then we're doing the B's with Michael, Bruce, and I. Second.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yep. So we'll.
Michael, you're in Scottsdale.
30 seconds here.
30
seconds here. Nice.
I'm not in this.
Playing golf.
Block.
Now, where do you guys want me looking? Where I'm looking right now or now?
The first one was good.
First one.
Yep, right there.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Cole, can I get a quick 5 count?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, delay.
Bruce, can we get a 5 count from you?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Delay.
Michael, have you been able to get any golf in?
Yeah.
How you
I have a
hitting
foot procedure, so I haven't been able to play 18 holes. I've been going out hitting balls, playing 9 holes as often as possible.
There you go.
Hey, Michael, can we get you to close your laptop right next to you?
It's closed.
Is it closed? Okay, thanks.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Cole. One more 5 count. Let's check the delay.
One more 5 count. Let's check the delay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5-second delay. 5-second delay. Michael, do you know Jerry Harrison Jr.?
Enough to say hello, and I don't know him, but
Okay.
obviously I know.
I grew up with Jerry
why
in Naperville.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well, I grew up with Jerry. And he and I worked with the Dodgers together the last 2 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I know he's out in Scottsdale. He golfs every minute.
Out here at the facility, obviously. I would drive over in the spring pretty much every year to say hello to Kenny Williams and watch a game.
Nice.
Watch a spring training game.
Does Kenny still live out in Naperville?
I think they're downtown in Streeterville.
Okay.
And I don't know does he still have a house out in Naperville? Maybe, but he's in Streeterville.
Okay.
I run into him and Zoraida.
All right, Cole. One more 5 count for me. I'm sorry.
No problem. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's coming from Wilbon.
He wasn't on a delay with me, and now my delay is gone. It's back. It just came back for a second.
We'll get going here in 30 seconds, guys.
Do we still have that delay?
We think we can ride the audio of each person, and we should be good.
Sure. Okay. So we're starting with the A's, correct? Where it's just me welcoming in Michael, and then we.
Yep. So what you're going to do is we'll just start on this one shot. And you're going to say, and now chiming in on the panel, a first-time guest of the show, Michael Wilbon, Chicago native. Mike, what do you think?
You got it.
Of the owners and players trying to figure out their financials, and the owners asking them to share their revenue?
Sure.
Just some last second framing touch-ups before we get going here. Okay, here we go in 5, 4, 3, 2.
So what's the bigger issue for owners and players? Will it be finances or will it be health? Well, in order to further this discussion, let's welcome in Chicago native, Northwestern alum, and making his 360 debut. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen. It's Michael Wilbon of ESPN and PTI. Michael, thanks for joining the show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
The pleasure is all ours. Now, let's get started, because when it comes to baseball, how can baseball players and owners find that common ground when it comes to negotiations, especially when there's health and finances on the line?
Well, but they better find a common ground. More so than ever. This can't end like the 1994 season with no resolution and just parting ways. I mean, baseball has come out, and some of its prominent figures have come out and said baseball could be part of the solution, give people a distraction, give people something to sort of hold on to in the storm that we're in. And so once you do that, people take you at your word. People take at their word that baseball is going to be part of a solution in this unbelievable and unprecedented time we're in. They don't want to hear that owners and players can't get together. And so they better get together. They better figure this out. I could care less about which side people come down on. I haven't chosen a side. They better get this right. If there's no season because of money, it's going to be an unforgivable position baseball has put itself in, far worse than 1994.
Michael, how could this be the perfect opportunity for baseball to come back and grab that captive audience? They'll be the only ticket in town. And every time that we've seen baseball take kind of a step back, it's taken quite some time for them to take a few steps forward.
That's a great point. I mean, you look back at sort of 1994 and what happened then with the shortening of that season, the ending of that season. You had so many great things going on. Tony Gwynn threatening to hit 400. At the time, nobody had won a Triple Crown in forever and ever, and Frank Thomas was in that space. You had so many incredible storylines, and the season just chopped off, and it took 4 years at least to get it back. The summer of 98, I know a lot of us credit the summer of 98 and that great home run chase, the Sosa McGuire, and it started off a three-way chase with Ken Griffey Jr. It took 4 years to get it back. So, again, this situation is much more sensitive. I mean, you have people who much more are emotionally looking to hang on to something. And if baseball sort of just abandons a rational, reasonable position, both sides are going to get blamed fairly so, and who knows how long it would take to recover from that.
Well, Michael, if one thing is certain, you know your way around a segue, because we're going to talk about that chase in 1998 in just a little bit, but still to come right here on Cubs 360. Can this year's team compete when it comes to 2020? We're going to ask that. Michael Wilbon, he's going to stay put, and he's going to break down the expectations for David Ross in this 2020 installment. That and more coming your way next, right here. You're watching Cubs 360, presented by Miller Lite. All right. A block out of the way. Yeah, good job at writing that audio, guys. I only heard it like half a time. It was good.
So that was great. This segment will be all three of you. Cole, you'll just you'll get us in. You got the first two questions, and then Bruce next to you. We'll just bounce back and forth.
You're gonna have to repeat that. I couldn't make that out.
So Cole is going to have the first two questions here. Then Bruce, you'll have two, and then we'll just bounce back and forth.
You got it.
And I'll be putting the info in the chat.
You guys. Hello.
Yep, I got you.
You got me? Okay.
I can hear you.
Yep, we're all good.
Now, I can't hear you very well now.
You can't hear me very well, Michael?
Almost not at all. Something went out. It's it's as if a speaker went out. And I can hear
We'll
it.
have our take a look at that real quick.
Test. Michael, can you hear me? This is Kevin, the director. Just want to check, make sure you can hear us.
I barely hear you. You can hear me, though?
I hear you loud and clear. Can you turn up the volume on your phone? Will that help at all?
Everything. I mean, I get to you again.
Test, Michael. This is Kevin, the director. You hear me here?
Man, I can barely hear you. All of a sudden, something happened when we went to in the middle of the break when you said we're going to or checking on the delay or whatever, and then it comes back with like 10%.
Is it possible, if you're comfortable signing out and signing back in, that usually will fix any issues that took place?
All
But
right.
if not, if you're comfortable with just this level, we can go with
I mean,
it.
I can try it. I can try it. I'll give it a shot.
Perfect. Yep. Just sign out and sign back in same way. Thank you.
Let's see what I get now.
Test, Michael. This is Kevin again. Can you hear me?
You're back.
Better?
Yep.
Perfect. All right. Thanks so much. Is it possible? I just want to frame you up in your shot. Just either if you can move your phone a touch clockwise or slide to your right. Let's see.
I can't slide.
No, that's perfect right there. If you're comfortable there, that's fine.
Is it any better? Okay.
All right, this is you actually sound way better now too, so that's great.
Okay, good.
Just some touch-ups on the framing from our director, and we'll get going. So Kevin, whenever you're ready, you can just start on a 3 box there.
And just to confirm, Michael, that you're looking at the right camera, just it should be more to your right is where the camera is.
Right.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
So right now is okay?
That's it. Thanks.
Okay.
Hey, Cole and Bruce, just checking you have your chat windows up.
Yes, sir. I got you.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
I'll run traffic through there towards the end of it. All right, here we go.
Mike, before we get started, hold on real quick, man. Is it possible? Can you tilt down a touch? I just want to frame you up in this triple box, Michael. Let me know if that's possible. Just tilt your phone down a touch if you can.
I can't.
Or if you sit up
I don't think I.
No. Okay.
I don't want this. Well, but it's not going to stay there. I don't. This is just a phone with a case. That's all it is. I don't have anything backing it up. We're taking a chance here, just to.
That's fine. Thank you.
It can only sit in that position. I can lean up a little.
Yeah, that'd be great if you can just lean up a little bit more. Appreciate it. Thank you. Much better.
All right, here we go in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Back here on Cubs 360, presented by Miller Lite, and number 500 from Ernie Banks. What a special moment. And Bruce Levine, he joins myself and ESPN's Michael Wilbon. And you can follow Michael on Instagram and Twitter. It's simple. Real Mike Wilbon. Go do so and do it now. Now, let's take a look back at Ernie Banks, Michael, because we know that's one of your favorite baseball players of all time. And he hit home run number 550 years ago. Yesterday. Now, do you remember that play? Because as Len Casper told us yesterday, there were only about 5,000 people at Wrigley Field when it happened.
It was pretty empty, and I certainly wasn't there. I was in 7th grade. I cut some classes in high school at St. Ignatius. Well, not cut. I'd bolt very quickly from Roosevelt Road and Racine, essentially Blue Island, to get to Wrigley Field when I was in high school. I wasn't going to do that in 7th grade. But I was in 7th grade, and with afternoon, 125 starts, I was able to get home. It must have hit it in like the 7th or 8th inning because I was at home after school ended at 3 p.m. and I was able to sit there and watch the home run live. And I remember the primitive looking chyron, at least I think I do, on the bottom of the screen with Jack Brickhouse's "Hey, hey." Am I getting that right or am I making that up? But it seems like I remember that being on the screen and hearing Jack Brickhouse's live call of the home run. Yeah, I heard it.
Yeah, and there was no baskets at Wrigley Field in the outfield back then, too. Now, Michael, back in 1984, you wrote a column for the Washington Post, and you made mention about growing up on the south side of Chicago, where you said no matter how far south you lived, if you were black, you rooted for Ernie Banks, Billy Williams, and Fergie Jenkins, which meant you rooted for the Cubs, too. Do you remember that? And what went into that?
Well, I mean, it shaped part of my life, so I more than remember it. You know, they were in the neighborhood. A lot of players lived on the South Side. We're talking about, I love my hometown, but I know what it is and what it isn't, and what it was and what it wasn't. And integrated, it wasn't. A couple of neighborhoods, maybe parts of Rogers Park and Hyde Park, but that was about it. And black players often lived on the South Side. In my neighborhood alone, Walton Noneck Williams, a White Sox player, obviously was there. And curiously enough, Bill Melton used to sort of room with him and live with Walton Noneck Williams. But Ernie Banks sponsored my Little League in part. I don't know that West Chatham Park in the late 60s and early 70s has a Little League, if not for Ernie Banks. Specifically Ernie Banks Ford, which was on the back of some of the jerseys. And perhaps someone else would have stepped up with funding, but maybe not. You know, I got to thank Ernie for that many, many years later, decades later. But where I grew up, you know, Ernie Banks, Billy Williams, and Ferguson Jenkins, three of the obvious stars, along with Ron Santos, certainly, and Kenny Holtzman and others. But the three biggest stars were those guys, perennial all-stars. And we could see them, we could feel them, we could touch them. They weren't living in gated communities in the late 60s and early 70s, trust me. And so they were part of the fabric of the community. And I remember I've been able to thank all three of them in person as a grown man for what they did and their accessibility to those of us on the South Side. And I'm sure my father rolls over in his grave as a South Sider who rooted for the White Sox. Naturally enough, and again, that the influence of Banks, Williams, Sano, Jenkins, and all those guys in the time of the Cubs becoming good, again, third place finishes in 67 and 68, after being last place team forever and ever, they started to make that move, and those guys were at the core of that team that would contend, obviously, in 69 and break our hearts. But I got to know them. A lot of us got to know them, and I didn't have any issue rooting for those guys in the Cubs and coming to Wrigley Field as I got old enough to do so.
Michael, as a longtime Bulls fan, growing up in the same era as the Bulls were created, you're looking at The Last Dance, you're looking at Michael Jordan. Take your reporter's hat off, take your talk show host hat off, and tell me what you see when you see Michael Jordan talk in this documentary.
Well, you know, I don't know that I can take it off to analyze the documentary, because I followed that part of the Bulls' history as a reporter and columnist for the Washington Post, and obviously still, you know, can't take the Chicago out of me. But I just love watching Michael tell his story, comment on his own story. We didn't hear that. We don't hear it on a regular basis. Michael's not LeBron and Kevin Durant and today's players who tweet and post on Instagram all the time. We don't hear Michael's voice. I got to hear it as a reporter and then somebody who got to know him personally. But the general public hasn't heard it. They're hearing it in a lot of cases for the first time in terms of at length. I don't mean sound bites. I don't mean sitting at a lectern or standing at a lectern or sitting in a microphone. I'm talking about Michael Jordan relaxed telling his own story. We haven't heard that. And that's the great value of The Last Dance for me. I was there for all the stories, even though I like going down memory lane. There are great details that I wasn't aware of, like Jerry Krause telling Phil Jackson, you can go 82-0 and you're still not coming back next year, which is insane. So there's all of that. And again, I lived that professionally. I lived that as a reporter and columnist for the Washington Post who was covering the NBA at large. And I was way more than a fan. Fan became secondary at that point. But it's just incredible to see the rest of the world plug into this and get so deeply into Jordan and those Bulls teams, which are, for a lot of people, the pride of Chicago has never come to the forefront as much as it did during those 6 seasons and 8 years.
Speaking of pride of Chicago, rank these moments, will you please? The 2016 World Series win for the Chicago Cubs, the Chicago Bears winning the Super Bowl, and the first win by the Chicago Bulls in 1991.
Wow. The greatest team of those was the 85 Bears. I mean, and they're for good and bad, they're known as the 85 Bears. Just what other team is known that way? No other team in pro football history that I know of. The 85 Bears, it's like the 27 Yankees. The 85 Bears were that great, but it was singular. They didn't do it again. And so there's only the reason to refer to that one team. That's the greatest team. That's the most dominant team. That started if you will, a social and cultural revolution. I think of it as, I think of it as more than an evolution in Chicago. That team, obviously anchored by Walter Payton and that great defense, maybe the great defense and Walter Payton, but Walter was certainly the face of it. The Bulls, the magic of the Bulls were all the championships, the three-peat, the six, it's all of it. And it's the way it built and grew. And so 98 is much more important, strangely enough, than 91. 96, 7, and 8, Michael coming back, were actually more important, I think, than the first ones, just because it built and it provided sort of the reason that Chicago didn't feel like a second city anymore. I realize second city is not a reference to New York, but it often felt like that. And they went through the Knicks 4 different times, not to mention, obviously, the Pistons and Pacers and all the others. But those 6 championships as a group really shaped the way Chicago, even today, more than 20 years later, feels about itself, and particularly the people who were alive and around for that. The moment, you asked me for the greatest moment is in Cleveland in 2016, without question to me. And I've been there for Blackhawks championships in person. For the one that was at home, I wasn't in Philly or Boston for the road games, even though I went to home games earlier in the series. The 2016 Cubs, when you think about people sitting in cemeteries with transistor radios and newspapers and reading box scores to their late beloved parents and grandparents and probably great-grandparents, there's nothing like that. 2016, my own mother, who died last summer at 93 years old, so let's go back 3 years, she was 90. She and her fellow residents at the Brookfield building right on Lakeshore Drive, about just shy of Belmont, they would go up on the roof and they could hear the cheers coming from Wrigley Field during the regular season and the playoffs. And so there's nothing like that. There's nothing like that in Chicago's history. There's nothing like that in anybody's history. Boston comes the closest, I guess it was 84 years, and then the White Sox. And my South Side brethren, including dear family members, don't want to hear it, but it wasn't the same mania. It was, and I'm not a person who, not only do I not hate the White Sox, I root for the White Sox. I never understood, I don't understand it. They didn't play each other. They're not rivals. They're rivals for our affections, but not with each other. And so I don't root against the White Sox. I'm never going to root. Tony Cornelius said to me on the day the White Sox clinched, he goes, "You're going to root for Houston, right?" And I said, let me get this straight. You think I'm going to root for somebody that has Houston across their chest as opposed to Chicago across their chest? I don't understand it. And I tell my own Chicago friends, neighbors, relatives, I don't understand that. So I don't hate the White Sox at all. I like to see the White Sox win secondarily to the Cubs. But the White Sox didn't have that moment. The Cubs had that moment. And that moment, I was there in Cleveland for Game 7. I didn't go to Game 6 because I didn't want the possibility of heartbreak. I went to Game 7. When the rain delay came, I walked around the stadium because I couldn't sit. And Bernie Kosar, noted Clevelander, Cleveland Browns quarterback, saw me pacing. He was as nervous as I was. And he said, a Chicago boy and a Cleveland boy who've lived through so much heartache, they ought to watch the end of this together. And Bernie Kosar brought me to his suite, and I watched the end of it from Bernie Kosar's suite before going down on the field to work for ESPN. And so I remember every detail about it, or so I think, and that's the moment. It's not the greatest team. The 85 Bears were a greater team. It didn't provide it hasn't provided the longevity that the Bulls did and Michael Jordan. And obviously the biggest star of all of that was Michael, even though the most beloved star was probably Walter in some ways. And Ditka, my God, he won as a player and a coach. And so you have all these stars, and all the stars of the Bears defense, Denton, Singletary, and Hampton, and McMichael, and all those guys, Fridge. But 2016, it's the Cubs in Cleveland winning that game the way they did with with Chris Bryant slipping, his right foot seeming to give way before he threw it over to Rizzo. There's nothing like that, and I am 60 years old, and I doubt in the rest of my life there will be anything like that for a Chicago sports fan. Not in my lifetime. My son,
Yeah.
he's 12. He was 9. It's different, but maybe in his lifetime, not in mine.
So I think it's safe to say that November 2nd, 2016 was the last time, Michael, that you'll be invited into Bernie Kosar's suite up there. So we know you're a huge Cubs
Bernie
fan.
didn't hold it
You
against
have
me.
to exactly. Now,
We had
show
a
us the
big
jersey.
hug.
You're wearing
We
the
had a
jersey
big
there
hug
today?
and toasted each other, and that was it.
Okay. Now you're wearing a Cubs jersey. Can you show us the logo there real quick?
I am.
Okay. Now that reminds
This is
me
what
of
I
the
wear to
summer
spring
of
training.
Okay, summer of '98. Let's go back just a little bit because we talked a little bit earlier about the home run chase between Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire. Now, when it comes to history, how big was that chase by Sammy? Because we know what was going on over on the West Side with Michael Jordan and the Bulls. They were, trying to nail down that second three-peat.
Yeah, they were, and that three-peat had been nailed down. By the time the Cubs and Cardinals, Sosa and McGwire became truly relevant, the Bulls had won in '98, and we got on to the summer. As a matter of fact, Sosa was heating up just as the Bulls were winning. Remember, Sammy hit 20 home runs in June. I think that's still the record. Sammy broke Rudy York's record at the time, and he was so far behind Mark McGwire there was no race. The race was between Ken Griffey Jr. and Mark McGwire. Sosa wasn't in the race. I mean, McGwire had like a 33-13 lead on Sosa or something like that. At least 30-13. And then Sosa hit 20 home runs in the month of June, and it became what it became. And they both, went through their hot and cold cycles, but it brought people back to the ballpark, even though we know what we know now. And that summer seems both romantic and tainted, if you will. We know what we know now. And I was in St. Louis again writing for the Washington Post when McGwire got there first, and he and Sosa shared the Big Bear hug. It was a magical summer, and I don't think of it that way anymore. The Cubs won the division, or got in with a wild card. Beat out St. Louis for that. And it seemed magical at the time, and it brought people back. And for as flawed as it was, it made people forget their anger, at least for a while, over the summer of 1994 and the work stoppage, which killed the season. It left the season without ending, without close, without a World Series. It's shameful. It's baseball's great shame, the summer of 1994. And then actually what happened after it, as people just thought the long ball at any expense, at any cost, the cost being steroid use, was going to bring people back forever for good with no skepticism about baseball, and that's not the way it played out.
Michael, thinking back to your Northwestern time and your Northwestern thrills in sports, where would you go as far as the number one thing that you remember most about Northwestern sports and the seminal moment for you for Northwestern?
Well, there are a couple. The 1995 Rose Bowl, so January 1, 1996. The Rose Bowl in Pasadena against Southern Cal and Keyshawn Johnson, and I'm friends with Keyshawn. I have to put up with him occasionally tweaking me about that. That's the number one moment. I know in 2016 going to the tournament, men's basketball, Chris Collins taking that team to the tournament was an extraordinary thing. And perhaps if we hadn't gotten hosed in that second game against Gonzaga and we'd won that game and beaten the number one seed and gone to the Sweet 16, that might replace the Rose Bowl. I don't know that it can replace the Rose Bowl, but it's 1A. Being in Salt Lake City, turning Salt Lake City purple for a few days was extraordinary. But it's those two events, and then there are other events. Everybody says, oh, all the Northwestern teams were losers. No, they weren't. The women's lacrosse team won 7 championships in 10 seasons. Kelly Amani's teams won 7 championships in 10 years. And so I was at a lot of those. My goddaughter was on a couple of those teams. I went to and was supportive as I could be of many of those teams, if not all of them. I didn't see all 7 championships, but I probably saw 4 and it was a thrill. So those, and probably in that order, were my Northwestern highlights. But the Northwestern highlights were always spliced amongst all the Chicago highlights. And I brought up the Blackhawks earlier because those 3 championships in 5 seasons, that was extraordinary. Extraordinary run. I'm still hoping we get one more out of Kane and Taves. That might be a little ambitious.
Well, let's hope the Cubs, they can win 7 championships in the next 10 years. And it all starts right now.
I'll take a
in
second one. Just give me
2020.
another one.
Exactly. Now, Michael, fingers crossed that a season does take place in 2020. And if it does, what are your expectations for David Ross and this year's team?
I don't really have any now. The world is tilted in a way in which that's not my primary concern. Wanting to see baseball is my primary concern. Wanting to see sports come back, period. And I'm sitting here, my home in Arizona is about 25 minutes from the Cubs spring training site and beautiful field. And I go there, every spring. I didn't get there this spring because the games ended just as I got to Arizona. But my primary concern is not where people finish. And I'm not saying I'm going to put an asterisk next to the season. I know that's a debate that's already started. I hope David Ross and the Cubs are able to sort of reestablish what they had in 16 and whatever was lost incrementally in 17, 18, and 19. I hope they can. Do I know if they can? I don't know. I mean, so much of it is what the front office, what Theo and Jed, what they want to do with guys like Chris Bryant and Anthony Rizzo as that team goes forward. Can they do enough in this abbreviated season to justify new contracts, whatever it has to be, to extend club control and keep that team in contention? They're not past their prime physically in terms of baseball years. So I'm hoping that can happen. I'm hoping David Ross can restore as a manager what the presence he had as a player, as Gramps, as a veteran catcher and leader in that clubhouse and on the field. I like to see the Cubs be a little bit more physically confrontational. I know I got angry last year when the Pirates were throwing at people's heads. And I know the Cubs came out of the break and they won, 4 in a row, and they thought, okay, maybe here they go. I want to see them a little bit more confrontational. That's just me as a fan talking now. But whatever David Ross can provide to get them back on track, that's what I hope happens. But that's not the primary concern, given the state of the world and the state of the country where we are now.
Yeah, you want to see a little more surliness out of this 2020 installment of the Chicago Cubs, because after all, Michael, like you said, you can take Michael Wilbon out of Chicago, but you can't take Chicago out of Michael Wilbon. Michael, thanks so much for taking time out to join us here on Cubs 360. You're welcome around these parts anytime. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Now, still to come right here on Cubs 360, is Wilson Contreras a superstar in the making? Well, we're going to let you know if he could be one of the best in the game sooner rather than later. That and much more headed your way next right here. You're watching Cubs 360, presented by Miller Lite.
Great. Thank you so much, Michael, for joining us. We really appreciate your time.
All right, guys. Sorry about the mishaps. I don't know what happened with the computer, because would have been a lot better looking and sounding, I'm sure, if this had been as we planned it. But thanks for having me.
Next time we'll get them.
All good, Michael.
Thank you.
I
was about to suggest that we do it from the studio that I'm going to now, but I guess you guys are good with this. So
yeah, thank you. Enjoyed it.
Thanks, Michael.
All right, take care.
It.
Thanks.
Likewise. I mean, we in theory could have sat there. We could have had that interview go for an hour.
Oh yeah, I mean that was 20 minutes. That was 20 minutes just on the second part.
It's like back when I worked in Baton Rouge, I got to interview Tommy Lasorda because he's friends with Paul Maneri, the LSU coach. And I interviewed him for an hour and 36 minutes. And they were like, hey, he's got to go. Like, I was like, okay, I'm just going to keep on going until someone tells me to stop.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff.
What's your favorite interview, Bruce?
Everybody, let's get off this team's call and join the 361, please. Thank you.
Oh, okay, no doubt.
No, you're good. You guys are good. That was for the team's call. I think we'll leave him out.
Favorite interview of all time?
Yeah. Hey, good job, you guys. Good job, except for Bruce just blowing through all the stop signs.
I didn't see any stop signs.
I know. Just running third with no repercussions. Round and third, just going and going.
Yeah, you got content you can use for the next year.
It's all good.
JD,
Good
how you
stuff.
doing? Thanks for joining us. I'm
You want me to
texting
text
Cole real quick. I'm texting him. I think he overheard the Teams thing.
Hey, JD, this is Kevin, the director. Can I just get a 5 count from you real quick? Just want to make sure your
Kevin.
audio is all set.
Yeah, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Got you loud and clear. Thanks.
JD, how you doing? It's Andrew.
Yeah.
Try again.
Good. I'm good. How are you? Hello, hello.
Doing well. I think we just had a little bit of a delay there. Cole was joining at the same time. We got you back, Cole.
Oh, okay.
What's up, JD?
Hey, Cole. How are you doing? Doing
Doing
good?
well. How are you, brother? Doing excellent.
Good.
Thank you. Have you gotten to go play real golf, or is it still just house golf?
It's still house golf. I
House
think
golf.
Tuesday. Tuesday might be the
There you
debut.
go. There you go.
I was.
I've been-
We were scheduled to go play Harborside last week, and then the mayor shut it down.
Where's Harbor? That's the one in the city, right?
Yeah, it's in the city limits. Yeah, and they
Yep.
thought they were good to go, so they opened up, took a bunch of tee times, and then had to shut everybody down.
That's rough. Yeah, the only one I know of out here, man, I haven't really done a whole bunch of checking, but by me is Brookside, the one by the Rose Bowl. I don't know if you've ever been to the Rose Bowl, but there's a
I've heard of
course
it. I
right
haven't
there.
played it. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's nothing special. I mean, it's like
Right.
a below average, suburb course. Like if you go out like it, towards like Naperville or something like that, Aurora, it's
Mhm.
nothing special. But I mean, they have
It's golf,
two
man.
sets of 18. Yeah, exactly.
It's a goat track, Cole. You know it.
Oh, hey. It's not, but you know what's crazy though? Because I was talking about that with one of my buddies, man, and we were like, even right after a game at the Rose Bowl, like there'll be cars like parked on the 9th hole, and they use it as a parking lot, and it never looks bad. It never looks like the grass is all. It's not that bad. It's not like that course that Slim Bueller was playing on in The Last Dance. Because that was the worst golf course I've ever seen. That's why Slim was so good at hustling Mike out of his money, because he played on that terrible track.
Have you played Angeles?
I haven't.
You should. It's worth the money.
I
It's
heard
worth
like
the drive.
that in Rio Hondo is really nice.
Yeah, it's worth the drive.
There's a course out
Hey, Lucy, here, Andrew.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
What's up, Elise?
How's it going?
Hi.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Cheers.
I just threw a chat in. Hey, everyone, just testing to make sure everyone can see that.
But
My chat went away. That's new. Something new. My chat goes away when I log back in. I have to recall
Yeah,
it back
sometimes.
up.
Okay.
It's weird
Got
though.
it.
Howdy, JD.
Howdy.
Bruce,
Howdy.
you see it there?
hello.
You see the chat window?
Ooh.
I hear you, brother.
Ugh. I'm not even tired. I just don't know.
Awesome. Thanks.
I've had nothing to do. Like I said, my wife and daughter, they're at the in-laws' house in Louisiana. So I've been here just being a hermit.
Are you
Are they?
Chicago?
What's up, Elise?
Are you in Chicago yet? Like, did you
No,
move?
I'm still in LA. No,
Okay.
not yet.
So has your wife been there like for the whole quarantine? Is she quarantining there,
No,
or I mean,
they've been
in?
there for like 8 days. They're coming back on Saturday night because my in-laws, like, they live
How,
kind of like, they live on the river, so they have the
Mhm.
boat, and like it's pretty it's not very populated out there, so they've just been hanging out.
The place to go. How was their flight? Did they say, was it crowded?
What's crazy, I haven't even asked them. Like, and everyone keeps asking me, like, how was their flight? Did you ask them? Like, and every other day, I'm like, well, I forgot to ask them. Like, I'll ask them today, and I keep forgetting to ask them.
Just going to run through some traffic for the A block while Kevin's framing everyone up. So normal hi, hello. Go to the tees to the 4-shot. Then there'll be a full screen call for you on what the owners gave to the players, which was pretty much all safety and logistical based. They didn't start to discuss any financials yet, and that'll take us into our first discussion. What's the tougher issue to figure out, the safety of the players or the financials between the owners and the players?
Who's
So we'll go.
who we leading out for?
We'll start with Bruce, and
Was
we'll
it
go right down the line.
Bruce?
Elise, then JD, and then after JD, we're just going to lay out, and that's where we'll pick up the Michael Wilbon interview because he chimed in
Yep. Absolutely.
a little bit on the topic. So Kevin, we'll just end on a one shot of JD when we get there.
Okay.
Tell you, Michael was great, but I can't imagine trying to edit down his columns.
Oh yeah, right.
Guy's got a lot of thoughts. He's really good. A lot of thoughts.
I think I know what you're saying.
It's like, I feel like it's almost like doing like talk, like, like radio. Bruce, you know all about
What was
that.
that?
Yeah, it was. You have to find
You ever
out.
do solo shows, Bruce?
Do what?
Solo shows, like by yourself?
Yeah, I've done them. None of them were any good though.
It's a different animal, man. Like, I've done like the kickoff shows on Sunday NFL. I've done it twice, and I had to do one time when Mike Nolan was running late. Like, he thought he was on a different time zone. He's like, oh yeah, I thought I'm supposed to be at this time. Like, he was like 35 minutes late, so I had to tap dance for 35 minutes. It's different.
You learn to talk slower.
JD, are you sitting up straight all the way as you would?
Well,
Just wanna
let
frame
me
you out here.
see. But
No slouching.
If you do it like
JD.
that,
No
that's
slouching.
perfect.
does this work? I'll try to stay in this posture.
That's perfect. That's perfect for the
Try my
boxes there.
level
Yeah,
best.
thanks.
All right.
Thank you. All right, 30 more seconds for Miller.
All good. Just take a one shot of Cole whenever you're ready to go.
Ooh.
JD, is there any way to uncoil those or untangle the headset just so it kind of a little bit neater?
More attractive. Well, I could dangle. Hey, I've got earbuds coming tomorrow.
That's the word on the street.
Yeah, word on the street, earbuds are coming tomorrow.
Do Bruce and JD and Elise, all you guys have iPhones?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, Cole, don't you have an Android like me?
I do, but I use my wife's earbuds.
Yeah, I don't do earbuds. I can't. I don't like them. I don't know. I do the
I
cord.
got these because I use hers. Kind of stolen these from her.
All right, here we go. In 5, 4, 3, 2.
Hey, let's get it started. It wouldn't be a Wednesday without Cubs 360 presented by Miller Lite. As always, I'm Cole Wright, and today it's a treat of a show coming your way because ESPN's Michael Wilbon, he's going to stop by. He's going to talk about his favorite player of all time, Ernie Banks. Plus, he's going to take a trip down memory lane as we discuss that 2016 World Series championship squad. Now, we can't talk about that before we introduce the panel today. And this man needs no introduction, but I'll do it anyways. He's covered Chicago sports for 30 plus years from 670 The Score. It's Bruce Levine. And she was a 4-year starter for Cornell softball. She's also a marquee sports network reporter and host. It's Elise Menaker. And last but not least, he was the first pitcher in the modern era to start a game with 8 straight strikeouts. And coincidentally, it'll be his 8th season on the call for the Cubs. It's JD Jim DeShays. Now, gang, moves, as we know, they are being made, and hopefully they're being made in the right direction so we can get back to playing baseball sooner rather than later. Because as we know, the owners and players, well, they started negotiations as they look to get back to normalcy. Now, their initial conversations focus more on health rather than economics. Now, among the items in that first discussion, testing protocols, logistics for spring training, rule changes, roster sizes, and rules as they pertain to transactions. But what's the bigger issue for owners and players? Is it financial or is it health? Now, Bruce, when it comes to baseball, players and owners finding that common ground in negotiations, how do they do so, especially when you have finances and health at the forefront?
Well, I really like the way they went about setting this up rather than jumping right into what most people can feel is the most contentious part of this, dividing up the revenues or what might be remaining. Instead, they went into what is the health issue going to look like? What is the medical issue going to look like? How can we protect you, the players, and the people that are being around the game, as well as your families in that city? And how do we make this work so that baseball isn't also taking more medical help away from the general public? How do we seamlessly fit in with what else is going on with the cities you're in, with the states you're in? So very importantly, they discuss these things first. It's not the most important thing as far as what the fan thinks right now. They think it's the money and getting back on the field. That's true. But getting these logistics together, very essential to getting people focused before they talk about the money.
Yeah, I'm with Bruce, where obviously these are the questions that you have to answer first. And interestingly enough, even when we have the questions about the virus and the answers, a lot of what we've been hearing over the last few months is, I don't know. I see these negotiations between the players and the owners going smoother because, quite frankly, there's not really much to negotiate. What Bruce was hitting on is that really if the proposal has something to keep the players safe and the players say, hey, but what about this, this, and this? There's not really much to discuss. It just has to be, well, sure, we'll have to do what we can to make sure everyone's safe because that's the only way everyone's getting back on the field. But I don't even think we would really be talking about the financial part if the current CBA wasn't set to expire after next season. I think that's where the contention is because the players don't want to set any sort of precedent because they feel that whatever they agree on now will directly affect the negotiations after next season. But still, it's interesting how you're even starting to get pressure from outside sources. You had Illinois' Governor J.B. Pritzker. He was saying, like, hey, players, you need to start sacrificing. We're all sacrificing, and you're a big role in getting back to normalcy. So the longer this goes, the worse it looks for the league, but you're already starting to see pressure mount to get back on the field.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. In the long history of the relationship between the clubs and the players, whenever they negotiate, and this is probably not unique to this industry, they try to tackle the easy stuff first and then get down to the difficult financial issues. Frankly, the health thing it's one of those deals where it's going to be a collaborative conversation. The owners will put together their presentation. The players will come back, say, we agree with this, we'd like to tweak this, maybe we can do a little more on this side of it. And I can't imagine there'd be a whole lot of pushback from the owners trying to address whatever needs the players have on the safety front. So that's kind of the easy piece of this, despite all the kind of moving pieces we have with the virus and everything that goes with it. And then they'll have to dig in on the financials. And I think people are probably overreacting to these initial salvos that have been floated out there. That's always the case in negotiations. The clubs say they want 50-50 revenue sharing with the players. They don't want to do the prorated salaries. That's just a place to start bargaining from. The challenge that I think Rob Manfred has is he serves many masters, right? He's got big market clubs and medium market clubs, small market clubs. So not all the teams are in the same boat. Some are better positioned to withstand this than others. So, he's got to take all of that into consideration as he tries to put forth a plan to negotiate with the players. But my sense is there's somewhere in there's a middle ground, and they'll come to some kind of a settlement.
Great. Awesome. And then the rest of that block is already on tape.
Perfect.
Elise, question: do you have headphones by chance?
Yeah.
Do you have earbuds in at all?
Was that not? I can put them in. It's just I don't know if my I had to go to my laptop because my tablet. Like, are you picking them up if I plug them in?
Let's hear.
Because I'm still getting the audio through my. But I can change the settings really quickly.
Let's see real quick.
So that's
And then
why
JD, just watch your microphone. It's getting against your collar
Give me a sec.
on your right hand side. If you just tuck the microphone underneath the collar. I know we had this issue last time. Just be mindful. Last time before the earbuds get out there.
Is that better? I just changed
right.
the input.
Test.
Sorry,
Do you hear me through your headphones?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm just going to turn you down a little bit. Can you hear me better?
I do. I think you're coming in better now.
I hear you the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that your
Sorry
gamer?
about that.
Is that
I
your
just
glove
wasn't
back
sure if it
over
was
your shoulder
okay.
there, Elise? Is that just a prop?
Is that what?
Is that your real glove, or is
Which
that just
one?
a prop? Other way, the glove.
Oh, that's my real
The
glove.
glove.
This is what I
Nice.
use in college.
What is that? What is that? Rawlings?
Worth. I loved this
Worth.
glove.
There we go.
I went through a lot of
Pride
gloves.
of
That was the one that
Tullahoma,
stuck.
Tennessee. There we go.
JD, I'd keep the earbuds in altogether. Yeah. Just be mindful that the microphone's just rubbing against your neck and your collar.
Kind of floats.
Yeah. All good. Like I said, your earbuds will be.
All right. So the B block also on tape. C block is where we're at now, coming off Wilson Contreras walk-off from 2019. I think it was in the 15th inning. And that gets us into the block. To our Miller Lite refreshing take, Wilson Contreras will develop into a superstar thanks to David Ross and Mike Napoli coaching him up this year. And we'll start with Elise, then go to JD, and we'll end on Bruce. And at the end of it, we're teasing, does Sammy Sosa have an unbreakable record? Let's try to keep it to like 45 each year. Was that Cole?
Notch, just to make, did he break that record in Detroit on the what is it, like towards the back end of the month, like the 25th? Because I was at one of those games when I think he either tied the record or broke the record. I'm not going to say that, but never mind. That's not even know why I brought it up.
Do you want to know, just to throw it in there, where he broke it?
Because I think, I don't know if it was a 2-game or a 3-game set, but I know he probably hit home runs in both of them. But I was at the second of those. I don't know if that was the game where he tied or broke it.
Stand by.
School game got me tickets to a Tigers game, Tigers Cubs, as a recruiting trip. I'm like, this is not legal at all. It's all right. It doesn't matter.
He so he tied it on June 24th in Detroit, and then broke it the next day.
Broke it the next day. I was at that game.
And then he went on a little slump, like 4 or 5 games, and then broke it on the last, or extended on the last day.
Yep.
All right. So, like I said, try to keep it to like 40, 45 seconds on the responses here. And we're going.
So we're coming off of
coming off an in bump of Contreras walk-off from last year in the 15th inning. He was the one, he kind of like, he didn't bat flip it, but he kind of threw the bat back towards the dugout.
KBO style.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yep.
Dusold, you good to go? All right, here we go. In 5, 4, 3, 2.
Oh, does it get much better than Wilson Contreras going deep in walk-off fashion? And with that being said, welcome back to Cubs 360, presented by Miller Lite. The gang's still here. It's Bruce, Elise, and JD. And guys, I want to wish a special happy birthday to Nico Horner. He turned 23, and the guy that we just saw going yard, Wilson Contreras, he's 28. Now, Wilson Contreras, of course, is going to get us to our Miller Lite refreshing take of the day, where Elise, I'll ask you, with David Ross as his manager and Mike Napoli on the staff, Wilson Contreras is poised to become a superstar. Yes or no? What's your refreshing take?
Yes, because I think he's already poised to becoming a superstar even before you talk about those guys joining the staff. First of all, I mean, if you just look at his numbers among catchers today, he's top 5 in sprint speed and highest average pop-up time. And then I even compared him to one of the catchers that I grew up watching, Pudge. And really, Pudge edges him out in batting average. But when it comes to power at the plate, Contreras has him there in the first 4 years of their seasons, I should say. But if you want to look at him in the addition of Ross and Napoli, I think where they can help is if you want to look at Contreras in terms of emotions, if you really want to nitpick his game, because really he has one of the most advanced tool sets on both sides of any catcher in the game. And so when it comes to those emotions, look, because of that tool set that I talk about, he wants to use it. So sometimes maybe you could say he's trying to do too much. And that's where I think the mentorship of Ross, where he already had it for a couple of years, but now it's back. And then Napoli, I think the experience there that both of those both former players had can really help him with.
Superstar is such a big word. There's very few superstars in the game. He's a really good player. He back-to-back All-Star teams. He had a huge year offensively last year, despite spending time on the disabled list. His home run numbers and his slugging numbers really spiked. 2018, he had 10 home runs and 370 some odd at bats, or 400 some at bats rather, and 100 fewer at bats last year. He hit 24 home runs. So what you have is a maturing player offensively, a dynamic skill set with tremendous athleticism. The knock on Wilson, aside from the kind of the emotional part of it that Elise mentioned, the pitch framing and things of that nature, and David Ross and Mike Napoli, former catchers, may be able to help in that regard. But Mike Borzello's been doing a lot of work with him since he got here. So I think if he turns into that outstanding defensive catcher in terms of the pitch framing, it won't be so much because of what David and Mike did. It'd just be the evolution of a young player who's had a lot of people contributing and teaching and helping push him, and a willingness on his part to put in the hard work to get there. So, whether we ultimately define him as a superstar or not, I don't know, but a really, really good catcher, certainly.
Well, everything that Elise and JD said is accurate, but the most important thing for Contreras is good health. So if you're going to be a superstar, you have to be healthy every year. He's lost vital months in 2017 and last year because of hamstrings. So can he stay healthy for a whole year? That's going to be the key to him putting up those monster numbers that people want from a catcher. Remember, catchers only catch 120, 125 games tops for the top catchers. So, their numbers, if they hit 25, that's like 35. If this guy hits 30 or 35 home runs and stays healthy a whole year, there's not going to be any questions about his pitch framing. It's going to be all about the monster offensive numbers, the great arm he has, and a winning team where he's catching a winning rotation. That's what it's going to be all about if you want to project him further these next 4 years, where he's going into his best years and his highlight years for him.
Well, when I see that Wilson Contreras is 28 today and I hear Elise's comparisons to Pudge, it reminds me that I'm getting old, because when I hear Pudge, I immediately think Carlton Fisk. And then after that, I think Ivan Rodriguez. But that's here nor there, because we're almost home here on Cubs 360. In June 1998, we weren't that old back then, and it was a good one, especially for Sammy Sosa, who had 20 home runs in the month of June. So will that feat ever be topped? We'll discuss that, of course, next right here. You're watching Cubs 360.
Nice, great block there. Elise, I love those comparisons. Those are good numbers.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Good numbers to reference.
Thank you. Appreciate.
Definitely not far off. Looks like you said, if he hits he hits a bunch of homers, everyone's going to forget what's going on behind the plate.
Not the sabermeticians.
Yeah.
Home runs.
That's
all
not
that.
what happened with Yasmani Grandal. Was he led the league in home runs for catchers the last 4 years? And when it comes to crunch time, if you can't receive, pass balls they'll keep you from a commissioner's trophy.
Yeah.
He had that one game, right? Where he had like 2 or 3 that he missed.
And he's not very friendly,
weird.
which
Cole knows this, that the Dodger pitching staff did not want to pitch to him.
yeah, he's not the friendliest of guys. He's kind of prickly. He can swing it though, especially from the left-hand side, man. He's dangerous.
Yeah, he definitely
He's
can.
got a lot of plate coverage.
For the D block here, we're coming off a play-at-home promo. Cole, you should have some copy. Ask a question. Who had the most home runs in the month? Glanville got it right with Sammy Sosa and 20. And our question to you guys is, will anyone break that record of 20 home runs in a month? Let's try to keep it tight here. Try to keep it fast.
Who we start
seconds. Let's go JD.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, since Doug, he's an Ivy League guy, he had the right answer. I thought we'd go with our Ivy League panelists here today.
Done. So we'll go Elise, Bruce, then JD. So we'll switch up the order from last block. Dusold, you good to go?
I'm all set on my.
Okay, here we go. In 5, 4, 3, 2.
Of course, the Penn grad, Doug Glanville, hits the nail on the head with the right answer. And you can see Doug and Brian Kenny at Play at Home Trivia tonight at 7 o'clock sharp. You won't want to miss that. Be sure to catch it. Now, Slam and Sammy Sosa, of course, we know 20 home runs in the month of June in 1998. That's the most in a calendar month. So back here with the gang, Bruce, Elise, and JD. And Elise, since you're our Ivy League panelist, I'll see if you get the right answer here. Do you think that record will ever be broken?
No pressure. Yeah, I do. Isn't there that saying where records are made to be broken? The truth is, it almost has been broken. So most recently, Giancarlo Stanton in 2017 had 18 in the month of August. And then before that, I think it was 2014, Edwin Encarnacion had 16. And rumor has it, we're playing with some different baseballs today. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. So should a player get hot? I think it can happen.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I believe that it's going to be a record that's going to be a long time in the making again. 20 home runs.
Hold on. We'll just pick it up from the top since we're only a minute in.
Okay, so want to restart?
That's my fault. Yeah, we'll just reset that. We'll go Elise, Bruce, then JD.
Bruce and JD. You got it.
Yep. And sorry, I should have put it in the chat.
You're all good.
All right, here we go. Reset in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Well, Doug Glanville, he went to Penn, so of course he got the right answer. And you can see Doug and Brian Kenny on Play at Home Trivia at 7 o'clock sharp. Don't miss that. Now back here with the crew, it's Bruce, Elise, and JD. And talking about Sammy Sosa and those 20 home runs in June of 1998, a record that still stands. So Elise, since you're the lone Ivy Leaguer here on the panel today, what do you think? Does that record ever get broken, yay or nay?
Pressure's on. Yeah, I do think it can be broken because you know what they say, records are made to be broken. And the truth is it almost has been. Most recently, maybe 2017 was Giancarlo Stanton hitting 18 in August. And before that, it was 2014, Edwin Encarnacion hitting 16 in May. But, I hear we're playing with some different baseballs these days. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. But if a player gets hot, I think they could get near 20, yeah.
Yeah, I believe it's going to be a long time before that happens. Only because if you think, there's 30, 31 days in a month, and you're hitting 21 home runs in that month. That's an incredible number that's stood the test of time since Sammy did it back in 1998. If there are people out there, you have the Acuñas, you have the Sotos. Mike Trout would be my pick, but I think it's going to be a long time. But eventually, someone will hit 21.
Yeah, put me in the camp of yes, this will be broken for the reasons you guys just mentioned. At times it seems like the balls are made out of flubber. Sammy did it in 98, 27 games, hit those 20 home runs. It's ironically the month before May, he had only 7, but he had 4 of those 7 the final couple of days of the month. But I think with the ball, the modern player, bigger, stronger, faster, and who knows, it might happen this year if we return to play and we try to compact all these games into a shorter time frame. There's going to be plenty of at-bats, say, in the month of August in 2020. So I'm going to say, yes, it will be broken. Pete Alonso will do it August of this month. If the gambling parlors were open, you could lay solid money down on that.
Oh, well, records are made to be broken, except for Ricky Henderson's 1,406 stolen bases. There's an asterisk there. But, guys, our time here, well, we're out of it. So for everyone at Marquee Sports Network, including Bruce, Elise, and JD, I'm Cole Wright. We'll see you tomorrow right here on Cubs 360.
Great. Awesome show, everyone. Appreciate it.
Good stuff, guys.
There's no shot.
All right.
That record doesn't. JD, just need you to
Sammy
stick around for a second for some sales.
Later, gang.
Yeah, Sosa's record. The juice balls, come on.
You need juice bodies and juice balls.
Juice bodies, yeah. I guess we could have
Sammy
made
had that
reference to
going
Sammy
for him.
being juice. Yeah,
Sammy, just
better production through chemistry.
All right, thank you.
We're done here. Bye. Thank you.
JD, I just emailed you
Bye-bye.
a sales read. Let me just make sure recording's
Okay.
still going. Dusold, be good to go.
I'm rolling.
Great. JD, I'll let you count yourself in there. And whenever you're ready.
Okay. Here we go in 3, 2, 1. No question, the wind has been a big factor today. In the second inning, a ball hit by Chris Bryant would have been a home run in most parks. But as you can see, the wind was blowing hard in from center field at 14 miles per hour, knocked that ball down and turned it into a routine out. Later in the game, a much different story. Fly ball from Javier Baez should have been a routine fly out to end the inning, but aided by a 13-mile-per-hour jet stream blowing out hard from center to right, it carried just over the fence for a go-ahead 3-run homer, giving the Cubs a 5-3 lead in the 7th inning. Can't believe I made it to the final 5 words. What are we selling here?
Sorry, I was muted there. You can pick it up halfway down from fly ball from Javi Baez. We're selling wind updates, wind and weather updates.
Oh, the technology.
Yeah.
Okay, so fly ball from Baez is where I go.
Yep, that'll be great.
Okay, I'll start with later. Right? Does that work?
That works.
Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Later in the game, a much different story. Fly ball from Javier Baez should have been a routine fly out to end the inning, but was aided by the 13-mile-per-hour jet stream blowing out hard from center to right, and it carried just over the fence for a go-ahead 3-run homer, giving the Cubs a 5-3 lead in the 7th inning.
That's great. Thank you. Appreciate it, JD.
Sure.
Have a good day.
All right, take care.